Welcome to the Technical Writing Success Podcast from Curt Robbins, where we help you get smarter than your competition. Hire Curt to coach you or your employees in AI to avoid a pink slip or having your competition eat your lunch.
Glad to be here for this one.
So today we are unpacking an article by Curt Robbins. It's titled Interviews with Great Tech Writers, Deborah Emini, published on LinkedIn on March 2, 2026.
Yep, and the main goal for today is really to explore how just absolute clarity in technical writing solves some of the biggest developer frustrations out there.
For sure.
And, we'll also get into how AI is rapidly changing the way tech professionals actually get their work done.
Yeah, because, picture this. You buy this massive, complex piece of flat pack furniture, right?
Yeah, I know where this is going.
The hardware is perfectly engineered, the pieces are solid, but you open the box and the instruction manual is just completely missing.
That is the worst feeling.
It is, and that sheer frustration, like not knowing what piece goes where, that is exactly what bad tech documentation feels like.
Exactly.
The pieces, like the actual tech, are usually totally fine.
Yeah.
But it's that missing context that makes you want to just pull your hair out.
Yeah, and that is exactly the gap Deborah Emini recognized pretty early on in her career.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because her background is actually super interesting. She studied computer science, which put her, right up close to the technical work from day one.
For she wasn't just coming at it from a writing perspective, she actually knew the code.
Right, and because she understood that code, she noticed this really glaring pattern. The developers weren't actually struggling with the technology itself.
Huh.
Like, the code functioned perfectly fine. They were getting completely blocked because the explanations were unclear and the context was just missing.
That is so relatable. You've probably abandoned a highly rated software tool or just some promising project simply because the onboarding felt like a scavenger hunt instead of a clear path.
Oh, absolutely. I've been there.
So the solution wasn't better code. It was a better translation of that code into human terms.
Exactly. And that specialized area, that's what's known in her world as developer education.
Developer education. Okay, so what does that actually entail?
Well, it's far more than just, listing a product's features. It involves creating tutorials, walkthroughs, example projects,
Right.
and really explaining the why right alongside the how.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so for example, Emini builds these complex infrastructure onboarding guides. And instead of just giving a user a list of commands to blindly type into the terminal, she actually explains the underlying architecture.
Oh, so what's actually happening to the system when you hit enter?
Exactly. And doing that drastically reduces the cognitive load on engineers who are, frankly, already juggling a dozen different tasks.
I can imagine. And the scope of that is just massive when you consider documenting something like, say, a CI/CD pipeline.
Oh, yeah. That's a huge task.
Right, because for those not deep in the engineering weeds, a CI/CD pipeline is basically an automated assembly line for software.
Yep.
Every time a developer writes new code, this pipeline automatically tests it and just ships it right to the live application.
And documenting that automated assembly line requires mapping out how multiple, completely separate systems talk to each other.
Which sounds like a nightmare to write out.
It can be. And Emini also handles back-end service integrations. Think of an integration like a diplomat at the United Nations trying to get two different countries to communicate.
That's a great analogy.
If the documentation doesn't provide the exact translation protocols, like the prerequisites, the authentication methods, the common failure points, the whole conversation just breaks down.
And the integration completely fails.
Right. So to prevent that, she leans really heavily on example-driven learning. Because, people just learn so much faster by seeing a working, practical model rather than reading abstract theory.
Okay, but wait, I have a question about this.
Sure.
If a junior writer is assigned to document these massive workflows and they don't even know the tech perfectly yet, how do they document the workflow? Aren't they just going to write a flawed guide?
That is a great point, and Emini's advice for junior tech writers addresses that directly.
Oh, she has a system for that.
Yeah. She says you have to become the proxy for the confused user. You basically sit down with the engineers and you ask the seemingly obvious, dumb questions early on.
Just totally put yourself out there.
Exactly. You ask them to explain their assumptions. That is how you uncover the hidden context that the engineers just take for granted because they are way too close to the code.
So you essentially have to leave your ego at the door and be willing to sound like a beginner.
100%. And her next rule is absolutely critical.
Yeah.
You must test your own steps.
Right, you can't just take the engineer's word for it.
Nope. You cannot just write down what they told you and hit publish. You have to actually open a testing environment and manually run every single command you just documented.
Because if you hit an error or skip a prerequisite step, the end user will too.
Exactly.
But testing every single step manually is incredibly time-consuming. Which kind of brings up the modern toolset. How does a senior writer like Emini speed up her process without sacrificing that accuracy?
Well, this brings us to her AI stack. But the key here is she treats AI strictly as an assistant, never as an authority.
Ah, okay. That's a really important distinction.
Very. And she actually uses different AI models for specific cognitive tasks. So ChatGPT is her go-to for rapid iteration and structuring outlines.
Because it's fast.
Right. It excels at organizing raw, bulleted thoughts quickly. But when she needs a longer, polished draft, she actually switches over to Claude.
Wait, really? Why use Claude specifically for the longer drafts instead of just sticking with ChatGPT?
Well, Claude's underlying architecture is currently tuned to produce more natural, nuanced phrasing.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, technical manuals can easily sound robotic and dry, which, actually increases the reader's cognitive load. Claude just helps maintain a conversational, accessible tone over longer word counts. And then she occasionally cross-references with Gemini to get a second opinion on her research or to explore edge cases.
That is quite the tech stack. But I mean, even with those advanced tools, you cannot just copy and paste an AI response into an infrastructure guide, right?
Oh, definitely not.
Because these models hallucinate, or they offer outdated syntax.
Which is exactly why she insists on that human validation we talked about. AI drastically accelerates the initial drafting, the brainstorming, the structuring.
Right.
But every line of code or instruction it generates must still be manually executed and verified by the writer.
So the AI builds the rough frame of the house, but the writer inspects the foundation and finishes the interior.
Perfect way to put it. It is a tool for efficiency, not a replacement for expertise.
Too true. Did you know that Curt Robbins also produces a video series on YouTube? It's called AI for Career Success and features hundreds of short videos about artificial intelligence and workflow efficiency. My favorite is the episode that reviews the 5.5-hour Lex Fridman interview with Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei in only 7 minutes. It's for busy professionals like us.
That is incredibly useful to have. And, looking at Emini's intense focus on reducing cognitive load alongside Robbins' push for AI adoption, it leaves us with a pretty compelling thought for the future.
Oh, what's that?
Right now, AI is speeding up how we write the manuals, right?
Yeah, taking out the heavy lifting.
But in the near future, will static documentation even exist? Or will the manual simply be an AI assistant living inside the software, dynamically guiding you through complex workflows in real time based on your specific goal?
Oh, wow. That is a wild thought to leave off on. No more static pages at all. Thank you for listening to the Technical Writing Success Podcast from Curt Robbins, where we help you get smarter than your competition. Buy us a coffee and hire us to coach you and your employees in AI